you don't see how broad it can stretch, like what someone can do. Like, you say, hey, you say one line and then they come back and you're like, okay, got a little improv thing going on. So I'm really excited about what we're going to be doing this weekend, so I'm really happy. I wanted to kind of keep the theme on the same, since we're going to be looking into the play this weekend. I kind of wanted to talk about growth and how God will sometimes stretch us outside of our comfort limits. And I was going to start off with Psalms 16 through 18. He sent from above, he took me, he drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy, from them which hated me. For they were too strong for me. They prevented me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my stay. I've really been meditating over this because I've been trying to do like a few things outside, like just broadening things that I know, things that I don't know about. You just moving and exploring. And I genuinely thought it was going to be easy. But it's funny how things will become distractions and things will kind of get in your way to kind of hold you up and stumble you out. And what you always have to remember is, even though God's paved the road for you, it may not be an easy road to take. And even when he's on your side, know that your work will still be protected. Not saying difficulties and struggles won't be there, but if you're walking his road and you put the work in, you'll always prevail. Ephesians 6:16, above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. The best gift God ever gave man was the laws of growth. This is the moment in which the power of God and the work of man unite as one to manifest the promise. Most people look at the seed without the possibility of the tree. But from the seed comes the root, and from the root will grow the stem, outreaching the flower. And that bloom is the promise that comes into fruition. That bloom is God, and it's him showing himself in you and the world you see. And you are showing the world you're his child. They can try to deny it, but the truth will always show through. Proverbs 4:25. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. We must learn to first focus and commit. And it's always going to take that sacrifice, because there's always going to be things coming your way that's going to distract you, that's going to seem more entertaining, more fun, something that you're going to prefer to get into before you get into this. But we have to perpetually reach for his heart and become hungry for his influence. We need to become so close to God that we can hear his heartbeat, to always be able to heed his instruction. You will see the grace and the mercy of the law that he created, as everything that he plants in you will always come to life, but only in its own time. Only after the work has been done. The danger of this faultless law, and this is something we have to really be aware of, is that this law that was created, it's not just going to be used by godly people. It's also going to be used by the enemy. So everything that you see that blossoms may not be his fruit. And that's something to always be sure of. That is an issue that we kind of have in our everyday right now. The vessels working for the enemy are working harder than the everyday Christian. I heard something about Beyonce. I know I talked to you about this one time. We were talking and we were like, oh girl, Beyonce was working 72 hours straight one day. Did not eat, did not sleep. And she didn't even realize she did it. She was just in the studio and she was just doing her thing and she was flowing. Now, I'm not trying to say she's working for the enemy or anything like that, but she's definitely of the world. So if you're working that hard for that side, like, when was the last time you did anything remotely close for God like that? We want God to bring down giants for us, move mountains for us, but we have issues with even being slightly uncomfortable. We're okay with minor sacrifices, but nothing that's going to make us sweat or take the cute face away. But to birth something, it's got to get messy sometimes. You've got to drive through, and you've got to drive through with everything you got. So the first thing I kind of came to mind was the mindset of the geese. I kind of heard about this like a long time ago. Brent geese fly south every winter, no matter what. And no matter what the weather is, no matter how bad things get, they always are going to fly south for the winter. That's their destination. That's what they're built to do. And a while back, I remember studying kind of the difference between animals and humans, and it was something I always kind of struggled with, and I never understood it. And then this kind of would keep flowing back in my head, and I realized it's the power God instills in man and his ability to carve his own destiny. We're so lucky to have nothing holding us back from going after what we desire, but it's also omitted the forceful push that we get from that instinct, that having God push you in the way he wants you to go. It's our responsibility to stand for something and move ourselves towards something that God can nurture. But instead, we kind of sometimes will act as animals in the wild, and we become comfortable with repetitive engagements in our mundane life of getting up, going to work, seeing these people, hanging out with these people. You don't like them, they don't like you, but you do it because you're familiar, and we go through this repetition in everyday life, and it's stagnating. We are suffocating our own growth. So without him, you get to watch the promise bloom in somebody else's life. It's possible, like, no matter what, anything that God plants, it's going to grow. It's going to come, but it's whether you are a part of that or not. If you can't get out of that repetition of doing the same thing over and over again, that's preventing your growth, eventually you're going to watch somebody else, you're going to be like, oh, that was my flower. That was supposed to be mine. But I think if we are willing to do the work, we'll always have a hand in God's blessings. So, just toil. All right. So did y'all have any questions?
What was the first Psalms you read from?
18, 16 through 18. Psalms 18. Hey!
I just, you said a lot, and some of the things that you talked about is the things that I've been talking to God about and dealing with as it relates to repetition and the whole thing of life itself. Getting up in the morning, going to work, coming home, cooking, cleaning, whatever, come to church, going home, that same old thing, I've been praying and asking God to help me to have an ear to hear him and to move in that direction, to move in the direction that he wants me to move in, and so that my life won't be, repetitious. And then another thing is that the past You know, so no matter how the enemy come in, you know, the Spirit of the Lord will reign. You know, the Spirit of the Lord will lift up a standard, you know, against the enemy. And another thing is that, Lord, like when you were saying about, you know, we want God to, you know, shower us down with, you know, all this stuff, but what are we doing? You know, what are we, you know, we want these magnificent, miraculous things to happen in our lives, but we only, you know, giving God, you know, this little bitty time, you know. We put him on the back burner. God, let me do what I want to do first, and then I'll get to you later. And then later really never comes, you know. And so, and then you said birthing out something, it gets messy sometimes. And then, you know what the first thing that came to my mind is a woman that's giving birth. You know, we ain't thinking about our hair. We're not thinking about, you know what I'm saying? We're not thinking about how we look, how our face all turned up, you know. But once the baby comes out, we forget about all the pain and all the things that we have to go through in order to birth that out. But just think about it in the spirit. You know, God is wanting to birth some things out of us, but we said, no, God, I got to keep my hair in place. I have to have my face right. You know, I got to be a certain way. God, I don't want to cry. I don't want to, you know, just really just pour out myself to you. You know, and God is saying that is what it's going to take in order for you to birth out those things that I've placed in you. You know, and so we have to really evaluate ourselves on a daily basis and say, God, where do I stand with you? You know, when it's all said and done, no matter how many years I've had on this earth, when you come back and I stand before you, when you say, well done, thou good and faithful servant, you've been faithful over few things, now make you rule over much, or will you say, depart from me, I never knew you. That's what it all boils down to. You know, so I really thank God for the word on tonight, and it makes me want to gird up even more so to have that a more intimate relationship with God, to where I can really start walking out and living out His purpose for my life.
That's awesome. Maybe that word was cute.
Well, the one thing that, I like the whole message, honestly, but the one thing that stood out is having that ear to hear when God is speaking. And so with me, just your overall message took me back to when I first got here, because it seems like periodically through different people, God has been speaking that same thing. And so we as a body have to have that ear to hear what He's saying, because He is speaking. And he's being repetitious about it for a reason. Because you've spoken on it, I've spoken on it, guys, not everybody in here is speaking on it, so you know it has to be God trying to convey a message to us as far as moving and not being stagnant and not being repetitious and not being in a routine. So that's the part I really love, because you have to have the ear to hear. It's not just you standing up there teaching, it's God speaking through you, and He's been speaking that same message since I got here. So thank you.
One word that stuck out to me, and I think Pastor Connie used it on Sunday, was commitment. And we always say